It was actually an accident. I stumbled on a lot of archival material, both at the UN and elsewhere, and saw that there was a story to tell that no one had told before about the 60s as this really missing piece in the puzzle of how our world came to be and the place of my grandfather, Thant, who was Secretary General at the time. He helped to build the UN's moral authority and consolidate that authority at a time when the Cold War could have easily led to nuclear war through his mediation role in the Cuban Missile Crisis, by standing up to the United States over its involvement in the Vietnam War, and by pushing, for example, the liberation movements in Southern Africa at the time. So all of these things shaped the nature of the UN at a time when it could have really gone in many different directions. The Secretary General was much more active and much more at the forefront of peacemaking efforts then. And then as now, many wars can end in different ways. You don't need the UN necessarily for everything. But sometimes someone called the Secretary General of the UN is indispensable in preventing and ending war. And I think we've forgotten how important that role can be. It's changed tremendously. I mean, the UN, I think, has lost a lot of its prestige, its place in global politics. I think we no longer go to the UNSG as the first or last resort in terms of helping to end and prevent wars. And I think a lot of that is also because we don't know our history, and we don't realize that in the past, not just in my grandfather's time, but in the 50s, 60s, and the 80s as well, that the Secretary General in the UN, with even just a minimal level of international support from governments, was able to actually achieve great successes. More than 60 years ago, when the world was also at an inflection point and crises could have easily led to nuclear war and people didn't really know what the future was going to be, the answers didn't come from Washington or London or Moscow. They actually came from very unexpected places. And so I think leadership from anywhere matters now as much as ever. And I think if we go back to our history, we'll see that the people who've actually shaped history are not just the great leaders that you read about in the books, but also many other people, especially from the Global South, who shaped the UN really at its height of its diplomacy in the 50s and 60s.